My name is CR Guiliano, and I'm going to read a small excerpt from For You. Jeremy stood at his window, staring out the front yard, but not seeing anything. It annoyed him that the past kept coming forward, mocking him and making him feel even worse. 3 years, and Graham was gone. Jeremy turned away and didn't let his gaze linger too long on any one thing. There were blank, empty places where Graham's belongings should have been. Bare spots on the bookshelves, deserted walls with empty nails, vacant areas on their dresser drawers, gaps in their closet, and a hollow feeling in the middle of Jeremy's chest. He rubbed his sternum absently, feeling lost and so alone. This was entirely his fault. He was too terrified to come out. He knew that his ultra-conservative and highly fundamentalist family would think. Knew it was a bad idea since he was an elementary school teacher and a Little League coach. The parents would be on a rampage. He'd seen it in the news enough times, watched as others were torn apart just because they were gay, and sympathized with a gay man was ostracized and prosecuted for nothing more than hugging his child. He couldn't go through that agony, not even for Graham. But what choice did he have? He loved the man more than anything, but the only way to get him back, if he even could, was to come out and be free of the shackles that held him tight. He hated lying, he really did, but his fear overrode the desire to be honest and open. When his doorbell rang, he nearly jumped out of his skin, and his heart skipped, wondering if Graham had returned. He stumbled quickly to the door and threw it open, only to see Susan standing on the stoop. His shoulders drooped, the pain seizing him again. Stupid of him to think Graham would come back. What was he thinking? That Graham would change his mind? Wouldn't be able to live without him? That he was egotistical? That was egotistical of Jeremy, though a tiny part of him wanted Graham to suffer as much as he was. Because if he wasn't, then it made Jeremy think Graham hadn't really loved him. Mind if I come in? He glanced up at Susan's face, but couldn't read her expression. He was convinced she was here to rant at him, tell him what a fool he was, and maybe even yell at him for hurting her brother. He looked past her to see if little Rachel was with her, or Dylan, but Susan was alone. Sure. He moved aside so that she could enter the house he and Graham had shared since 6 months into their relationship. She brushed past him, her swollen belly leading the way. Where are Rachel and Dylan? It's not like he really wanted to know, but felt it polite to ask. He didn't want Susan here at all, instead wanting to wallow in his misery without an audience, especially Graham's sister. Melinda's babysitting. The clip-type answer made Jeremy's hands damp, and he rubbed them on the front of his sweats before closing the door and following as Susan went into the kitchen. Have you been eating? And when was the last time you took a shower? Surprised by her questions, it was then he noticed she carried a plastic bag bulging from its contents. Not very hungry. Graham had been gone for almost 2 weeks, and still Jeremy couldn't stomach food. He couldn't remember the last time he'd showered. What was the point? He wasn't sleeping either, and he knew he looked bad, with dark circles under his eyes and his body much thinner than it usually was. But he just didn't care. The summer was coming to a close, Little League was finished, and soon he would be back in the classroom, which meant he needed to get his shit together. But the energy to bother wasn't in him. He missed Graham with every fiber of his being, and he didn't know what to do, how to fix this. He stood awkwardly in the passageway to the kitchen. Why are you here? He figured Graham's family would shun him, but here was his older sister in his kitchen looking at him, the pity on her face obvious. Great, just what he needed. He dropped his head, staring at the tile floor, and rubbed the back of his neck, feeling even more out of sorts. I came because I was sure you were neglecting yourself just like Graham is. You both are idiots. The growl in her voice had Jeremy jerking his head up to stare at her. Wow, Susan was such a laid-back person. To hear her like this was new. Even pregnant and hormonal, Susan had always been level-headed and kind. But then her brother was hurting because of him. He could easily see why she was angry. I'm sorry. Don't even say it. I am so pissed at both of you right now, and if I hear Graham apologize one more time or hear it from you, I'm going to scream. Jeremy was shocked at her outburst and didn't know what to do with the information that Graham was suffering too, even if it validated Graham's love for him. But it just made him feel more wretched that he was hurting his lover so badly. Deep, deep down, where the pain was the worst and tore him up, he was hoping Graham would move on, find a man who wasn't a coward, a man who was out and proud and didn't hide his sexuality or his lover like a dirty, filthy disease. Not that Jeremy thought being gay was like that, but he just couldn't confess to his family and friends, co-workers. God, just the thought of going through that had him trembling from head to foot. and knowing he needed Graham like he needed air didn't help. I'm CR Guiliano, and that was part of For You.